Okay, so this should be an interesting exercise, which I'm going to just do in real time and see how it goes. Um, so we just completed this shot, and now we're moving on to this shot. So as has been my practice, arguably not the most ideal approach in all situations, but yes, we have a storyboard that's a half a gigabyte in size that, as you can see, it's well, it's hard to see, but you can see it's basically pencil drawings, okay? But then as we are working our way backwards through the show, we're actually putting in ink and paint in the individual shots. So, interestingly, so far, how many shots are we into this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're 6 shots into it. I expect things to start speeding up because I've sort of gotten through some of the clunk factor of, what can go wrong. But so far, I have not yet once needed to add additional drawings to any of these shots in order to get all the animation that I needed. So let's see if that's going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this down. So we're basically going to just kind of do this in real time and see if it winds up being a situation we're going to regret. Okay, so here's our background image, which is swiped from the other shot, and ultimately I am guessing I'm going to completely replace that background image. Also, for this shot, we don't need a camera move. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those keys, because basically I took the previous shot, which was this one, and my standard way of doing this is, let's say I was in this shot and I'm done working. I would grab this cell from the level strip, and the reason that's always there is because this level, even though it's only using one image, it's still referencing this level strip. So that's kind of handy. I always have access to it, and I can grab this, drag it into another level, and in that way just go on to the next scene and then delete the levels I'm not using. Now, one of the things to bear in mind here is that if we look at the level settings, by the way, that chirp you just heard is Zuko. This level is 1920 by 1080. So my scenes, my camera, everything is full HD, but ultimately this is all going to be brought down to broadcast HD and then actually scaled back up. Introduces a little bit of blur, generally is a good thing. And the other reason I'm building this shot on the mechanics of this shot is that this work has, well, okay, I was going to say the effects stuff has already been done for me, but actually I'm wrong. I was thinking that the post-production effects from this shot would have been in this shot. So I'll test this later, where I will take this shot and add the film grain, add the blur, and then when I go on to this shot, we'll assume that all of our settings will be retained. So what does that mean in practical terms? At this point, I mentioned the scale for this reason. This shot is the first one where I effectively need multiple drawings. But do I really? Well, if I actually take Monkey, let's take Monkey, and I'm going to just go ahead and do what I did before with Tianara. I'm going to grab Luca, and I'm going to shrink him down a little bit. Because remember, because this is full HD, we've got some room to scale things. We can assume that this is going to be cropped in a little bit. Therefore, okay, I can put this face here, And then let's go ahead and put another drawing in between. Okay, so if this is essentially the circle that is representing Luca, I'm going to go ahead and make an adjustment here again, because all I need is one tween. Remember, we're animating on 3s, and I would say this. I'm going to go ahead and put in another level. Grab monkey, cut him. Hello? Sorry. Grab monkey. Let's cut him out. There's no reason for him to be in here. Okay, and then I'm just going to turn that off for now. Okay, that way I can get real specific with Luca. Okay, now if we're cropped into broadcast HD, I'm going to say that roughly, here's what we want. Let's make this a little bit smaller. The reason I'm monkeying with this is because of his clothes. And actually, I'm gonna change my mind. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab monkey, put him back in here. Okay. Murphy's Law of Opentoonz is that the selection tool will always, when you cut and paste, it's still in selection mode, so you can immediately move it until you need it to be able to be moved, and then it isn't. So what, see, like right there, look at that. So I paste monkey in and I can immediately move him, but a moment ago I did the exact same thing. I pasted monkey in and he was unselected, and so inadvertently got pasted over Luca's face, which means I have to redo it. So a little inconsistent there, but back to work. Okay, so sorry, B key. So here's the arc. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so we're going to have this transitional shot, or transitional pose, I guess you'd say. And methinks put these a little bit higher, and maybe even a slight adjustment here. This chin over more. Okay, that's not too bad. Oh, by the way, it appears that let me see. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if it's a machine issue or if it's an Opentoonz issue, but somehow I lost my pressure sensitivity. Fortunately, the world will keep turning despite having lost my pressure sensitivity. Okay, so now just to be accurate, I want to bring this down a little bit. His smile gets bigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and ink him. in silhouette just so I can see if things are going to excuse me, behave as I hope. So I am going to erase lines, selective. I have the sketch color selected, so this should get rid of the lines. And it turns out that these lines are something else. So got a couple ways I can approach that. We can try it this way. Okay, that's interesting. Lines and areas. Oh, let's turn off selective. Boom. Okay, so that's not very clean. Therefore, what I'm going to do, actually, let's do it this way. Let's sketch this back in here, like that. Guess I can't do it that way. Caught in the loop, folks. So I need to redraw it with the known color. The reason I have that little issue is because of all the palette related shenanigans I've had to deal with to sort of figure out how Opentoonz really wants to do things. And it can be a bit confusing. But you'll see what I'm getting at here in half a second. Okay, so now if we do erasing of lines and areas, but on the basis of selective, that takes care of that. And now what I want to do is make sure that all of this ink is in fact the correct color ink, because I suspect that it's not. So we're going to paint lines. Okay. And that value is 33. Let's just move that around to make sure that it's where we expected it to be, and it is. And so now, this is something I almost never do, but I'm going to do it in this case. I'm going to put in a couple guides here. Let's put one at the top of his skull. So, that obviously backfired. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll bump that up a little bit, and that looks pretty good. And it's maybe ridiculous to think that his head would actually be in the exact same position for all these frames, but in terms of, the up and down, but that's okay. For our purposes, it gets us where we want to be. So let's now do our ink. And again, what I'm going to do here, other than the curvature of his skull, I'm going to do this in silhouette. Like so. I'll tell you, it's actually pretty tricky to get to draw the roundness of somebody's head. Okay, actually I'm going to go ahead and finish this out because it's kind of quick to do so. I'm going to flip the canvas, zoom in a little bit. Alright, that backfired. There we go. Actually not so much. Do need a little bit of a curvature there. That's better. Okay, flip it back. Okay, now we want to go for a very cartoony look here. Luca actually has fairly prominent eyebrows. Okay, that one's done. Let's make these circles not dots. Can we put a nose in here? No. And Luca actually has a reasonably delineated nose as well. So we got that, we got that. Okay, so yeah, the obvious problem here is we got a bunch of gaps. that's because I was being a little bit sketchy when I initially inked this. No big deal. So we'll just make that a little cleaner. I think that this could probably be done better. Oops, that didn't work. Zoom out and make sure we're okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the sketch lines and we're going to erase them. So we're erasing lines and areas, but we're doing it in selective mode, which means that every bit of the ink lines should disappear. And now we've just discovered a problem. Okay, this is again where this palette stuff is really biting me in the butt. But how do we solve this? Well, let's sample the palette and see where it goes. It's going to color 0. Okay, well that's alright. Let's use color 0 and erase selectively. And that doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, so this is actually a bit of a quintessential disaster, actually, because I seem to have a problem that normally with Opentoonz, this is a really easy problem to solve, in the idea being that you're able to erase just what you want to erase. The problem is when Opentoonz gets a little confused on its palette and all of a sudden it doesn't actually know what color that is. How do you erase it selectively when you can't even identify what it is? So you have these colors here, and when I hit the sampler, it just says, well, no, that's color 0. And in fact, the presence of those colors, again, has catastrophically corrupted my my art. That means, well, I'm sitting here blabbing because I'm thinking in real time if there's a way around this. What that means is this is impossible to fix, as far as I can tell. One thing we could try, let's go to Luca. Yeah, we don't really have a color for Luca's skin. You know, the problem is that Opentoonz lets you sample colors from your art and then go straight to the palette entry for that color until it doesn't work. That's what we're dealing with here. So how do we deal with this? Well, we can't, the problem I had a moment ago is that I cannot, let me think about this. Okay, here's our best option. I would say this is our best option. Re-ink this one. And the way we'll do this is we're going to do a freehand fill of lines and colors. Whoops. Guess we don't want areas. I said lines and colors, I meant lines and areas. Okay. So now the question becomes, did that work across the board? And it looks like it did. And so now we can crank. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong thing. Okay, so we can turn this down, and now that all those colors are in fact the sketch color, I can re-ink it, and we'll be back to normal here shortly. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, it's fighting a little bit the fact that well, on a Toonz raster level, the long story short is that any given pixel on your cell can really, in fact, only be occupied by one color at a time. So because of that, you get a little bit of this weirdness where they're wanting to overlap. But let's give it a crack here and see how it goes. Boom, boom. So it looks like to me I'm probably going to have to do a little extra cleanup step. But now we're going to grab Sketch, Erase. We're erasing everything, but we're doing it selectively. And as you can see, there we go. So, excuse me. So what's the lesson learned here? Actually, the reason I'm doing this in real time is because I'm demonstrating how I'm bumping into a lot of lessons learned in this whole process. The lesson learned here is to really make sure, if you've been dealing with color and palettes and whatnot like I have, the simplest solution to kind of everything I'm dealing with would have been, before I even start doing anything, select the entire cell from the storyboard and do a line fill. Do a fill on lines of the entire cell in order to enforce that all of the lines in the initial sketch drawing are in fact this palette entry, as opposed to something that Opentoonz doesn't quite know what it is. If I had done that, then this would have been simpler. So, well, the workflow, a large and complicated workflow, is actually an ongoing process of figuring out, how do I need to do this or that. Doing the right things in the right order so that the workflow is smooth. Right now what I'm dealing with is a little bit of very much not smooth workflow because certain things were not done in the right order. Okay. Well, there is one problem, and I'm going to deal with it aggressively. Like so. Now I'm going to go like this. Let's turn the alpha on this up a little bit again. Yeah. His eyes were a little too small. Cool. Now let's zip right in there. Ink this. Ink this. And we're actually almost ready to deal with color. Cool. Now all we got to do is erase the lines. Sketch, erase everything. Selective. And definitely seeing where there is a case to be made for not trying to keep things all on a single level, and certain people are out there right now watching what I'm doing going, Dave, why are you doing it that way? What are you thinking, man? Dude, what are you thinking? Okay. Let's go to Luca on our palette. And let's do fill operation of areas. And let's just fill him completely. Then we'll come back and correct the individual colors. And then we'll go to the monkey. Actually, let's grab our ink. Monkey's just in the frame. I don't think we need to mess with anything else. Let's do erase, and that didn't work. So it turns out that these sketch lines are also erroneous. Fortunately, that is, whoops, well, maybe not. Pretty easy to fix. So let's go with that. Go to monkey, monkey's fur, fill, selective, or not selective, but areas. Okay, good. Alright, now let's, I'm not actually going to save all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this level, Alt-S. I am going to overwrite the palette, but I'm also going to save this palette back to disk. That seems to be the best policy I have been finding. Okay, so it turns out that we don't have a Luca eyes. Control C, Control V. We need whites of his eyes. We need eyebrows, and we need irises. And you know what? I know it's just black, but so we'll call this pupils. Iris. Brows. And we'll just call that eyes for the whites of his eyes. We'll make that white. His brows are going to be kind of dark-ish. His irises, I believe, oh boy, pretty sure they're supposed to be green, but I need to look at my color model for that. And then pupils, obviously black would be generally the definitive color. Alright, and now what I want to do is go back here to the palette page, and I need to save the palette. Yes, and let's see if this breaks anything. And reload the color model. Boom. Okay, that's updated properly. What does he look like? Actually not here, but here. This is going to be interesting. Oh, he seems to be okay. Well, we didn't really have any colors for his eyes, so okay, so what did we just learn? What we learned is that if we update the master palette, Opentoonz actually keeps track of the indices of the colors, because each color has a numeric index, and the order in which you add new colors doesn't matter. In other words, adding these new colors in a specific order doesn't break the indexing. That's good news, okay? So now we go back here, and I'm just going ahead and doing this in the Toonz raster level, which, by the way, I am actually saving right now. And now we're going to do a fill operation for areas. Alright. In freehand mode. Freehand mode. Boom. Boom. That worked. Browse. Browse. Okay, let me look here. Whoops. Okay, it looks like on the color model I probably just use the outline color. Okay, there's Luca's skin. There's his fez. Yeah, see, actually this color has been orphaned as well, so that's really not very good news. But that's okay, that's okay. Let's go to Luca's fez, and we'll fill this. Well, that's why the workflow is a little bit slower at this point, because there is an ongoing process right now of figuring out our color model. Darn it. Ah, and of course, Opentoonz undo. By the way, just so you know, folks, undo doesn't actually work if you try to undo modifications of color. God bless it. Blankety blank. You try to do colors with the brush tool, or the, I'm sorry, the paint brush tool. You have been warned. It doesn't actually work. You will lose the ability to undo, and what'll happen is you'll keep hitting undo because you're like, why won't it undo? And meanwhile, Opentoonz is undoing all kinds of other important work that you definitely wanted to keep and not telling you, and seems to happily skip over the step that mattered. Okay, okay, so let's go here, and we see that Tianara has green eyes. So I don't want Luca to have green eyes. Let's go with, you know, some kind of aqua. Actually seems like that would be pretty nice. I'm thinking aqua. Let's get the whites of his eyes in there, and then we'll make a decision on the color, and then we'll bake it back into the palette. So we need V key here. And we are going to darken these a bit, by the way. When you see how I'm going to do this, you're probably going to be going, Dave, what are you thinking? Because, yeah, I am actually kind of jumping through extra hoops in order to keep everything in one cell. Okay. Apparently I need to create a, here's what we'll do. We'll create that little border, and we'll grab this color, and paint it back up. Nope, blew it. So yeah, like I said, I know what you're saying. You're sitting here going, dang, this seems really like a clunky way to work. Okay, and it is. Okay, all things considered, I'm going to say that his eyes should be slightly more modestly colored, so let's go with that. And now, in my view, his eye color, yeah, I definitely don't think I don't really want blue eyes. What about brown eyes? Let's try. You know what? I think that's what we want to do. I think that's what we want to do. I'll tell you why. What that does for us, let's make them light-ish. Yes. That actually feels not quite right, but what it does is it gets the pupil and iris colors closer together, and which has the result of making, sorry, multitasking here, making his eyes seem bigger. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and I'm going to, yes, literally put this in its own palette entry. V. Hello. I want this to cover lines and areas. Boom. Boom. Okay, because the orientation he's in, I guess that doesn't really work. And by the way, okay, so right there, the undo just quit working. Yeah, Opentoonz consistently fails when it comes to undo associated with the paintbrush tool. Okay, first shadow, skin. Okay, so I'm going to look at my color model here. And okay, that helps. Alright, and just for fun, I'm going to see if these, yep, that worked. That worked. Everything seems to be working. Eyes. So his eyes are essentially dots. So let's go to skin, V key. Stop. Will undo work? Undo works. Undo works. Okay. Well, there you go. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, will this work? Yeah, it looks like it did. I'm going to hit the, grab this color though and tune this back down. Fur shadows. Fill that. Okay. I don't know. I don't think I want to add any more detail on the skin. I think on this shot I'm going to have a shadow layer. Okay, so now let's just kind of make sure we're doing okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to load a color model here as well, which is going to be the same as the one I've been using. We're looking at Luca. We're looking at the garment that he's wearing later in the show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right in with my ink. And let's turn the background back off. And here's how we're going to do it. We hit the B key. Crazy, huh? I'm literally seeing silhouettes in my mind. I'll do a little tweak on that. Alright, and I don't like this. Gonna rethink that. Actually, I think I'm gonna rethink both of those. Let's try a different pose. Actually, that's looking a little too barrel chested there. Okay, does this kind of sort of work? Kind of sort of yes. However, with one caveat. his actual pose would be in this shot. Let's go in and fix that. Actually, we'll fix that too. Boom. Boom. Well, it's a good example of what can happen if you have planned out the expression of the character, but haven't actually fully planned out his pose. Right. But this is working. This is actually working. This is pretty much what I intended. Do we want to... Yeah, I think we do. I think we do. So let's get rid of that as well. So he's kind of in a squatting position. Okay. So this would have been, obviously, to have planned the pose more fully would have been well advised. But I think we're okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This is utterly obnoxious, but we're going to do it anyway, just for fun. Okay. I'm seeing some erroneous stuff. So let's put on the eraser. We're erasing lines and areas, and we're not erasing selectively. I'm just wanting to erase anything that might be there that we can't actually see. Okay, let's see what it does now. Sorry, wrong key. Yep, that's what we want. Okay. Alright. And now we're going to build a skeleton. And I think what we'll do is we'll go like this. This allows me to rotate them if necessary. Having two bones on each character. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to look at this. And okay, so animate. Let's go to animate. Stacking order. This is going to be 3, 2, 1. And actually, let's make him 4. Let's save everything. Okay, let's go back to the basics here. Okay. And we'll stretch his body out under the whole shot. Do. Go back here and turn off keep distance, and our initial pose I'm gonna make one little change in monkey. Actually, I'm gonna give him another. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to put him in the corner. We're going to take this off stage, this off stage, this, and let's turn keep distance on so I don't accidentally deform his body, or his head, I'm sorry. Okay. Alright. So here we're going to go boom, Take that off stage. Put this on stage. And now let's check it. Works. Now let's go here, take this off stage, put this on stage, keep distance. And I just realized so okay, that's cool. We'll go back here, and here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to redo the mesh, but that's okay. So let's go here, let's grab this, and let's do a complete flip of it. And we'll go like that. Okay, so now we gotta go back here, and this is gonna be corrupted. Yeah, see, as you can see. So let's just go back here. It's not a big deal. We just go create mesh, we'll redo it, apply. Okay, so now it probably is good. Okay. Gosh, I kind of feel like we're losing the character on that third pose, aren't we? It's a little concerning. And his eyebrows are too high. His smile is too big, and it is on the wrong side of his head. I know. Let's go back here. Well, you know, again, this is one of those things that's kind of seems kind of dumb to do it this way, but what the heck? Like I said, it's kind of fun. I'm going to go ahead and drag this down to here. Drag this. Whoops. Sorry. I'm going to make a modification to this one. CV. Alright. And now we'll flip this. I think this will work. We'll give it a crack. Yeah. Okay, so this just enforces a little more consistency between the poses. So now we can grab this and get rid of it completely. Okay, and now let's just make some adjustments to this one. We'll have his eyebrows go up a bit, and then we'll just fill in those gaps. Okay. Whoa. We're gonna go with it. I know it's a little winky, but I think that's okay. We can patch that up in a quick hurry with the and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and put that over there. Yep. Okay, so now let's do a little judicious erasing. We'll actually erase that little bit there as well. Okay, now G key, V, sorry, F, normal, excuse me. So this should just give us a more consistent transition between these two poses. And it's the kind of thing that comes up all the time anyway. I mean, it's not like it's that unusual to be slightly off character. And by the way, this should be lines and areas. Right? Let's turn it back to areas just to be, I wish you could assign those to hotkeys. I don't think you can. fill. Let's see what that does. Okay, that was lucky. That was lucky. Okay, cool. Grab this, fix that. Let's go back to our ink. Let's go ahead and tighten up our ink. Yeah, that looks really good. That's what I was kind of hoping to accomplish. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so now obviously we want to recreate our mesh. Let's just go ahead and do it. Create mesh, apply that, and we'll just see if it kind of worked. Okay, why is the mesh a little oh, wait a minute, look at this. We need to get rid of that. Get rid of that. And stretch that down. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now on this frame, this is kind of cool. Let's turn on keep distance, because by doing so we can really fine-tune the transition in his expression. That's exactly what I wanted. He turns his head and smiles. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Okay, so let's bring this out. So now, again, a little obnoxious. You know, what is the real value of having all of the animation for Luca baked into this single frame of the storyboard? I don't know, but I will say that with little doubt, I will probably be reusing these poses somewhere else, so no big deal. Now, one thing I also want to do is let's flip the monkey. I'm gonna flip the monkey and see what I can do. I want to imply that he kind of has a thing for Tianara. So if that's the case, then we want to obviously regenerate the mesh, and we're going to have to make some adjustments to the skeleton as well. You know what? No big deal. Let's go in here, turn this on, and so yeah, here's your problem. So this is going to be, we'll just move this over here, there, 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 and there. I believe that's pretty much what I had. Actually, that's probably the neck. Okay. So now we have the same situation here where it's the wrong mesh, but isn't it cool that you can actually just slap a new one in and wango bango? Now the one danger is if there are some key positions baked into the animation that affected monkey, then it could be that I'm going to have to redo the skeleton. I hope not, but it doesn't look like it. Look at that. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and animate monkey on the same keyframes. I'm not going to get too fancy here. And this, by the way, should be behind. So actually, that's what I want here. So this one should be a little more subdued. Boom. Okay, we'll hide the mesh, and not bad. So I'm kind of playing here a little bit, playing the idea that monkey is a little bit sweet on Tianara. Okay, the only thing I'm going to say I think I should, let's see if we can double click this. That doesn't work. So let's go here and double click this. Okay, so I'm going to actually have to do some surgery in the function editor. Okay, and that's okay. I do need to, I'm going to have to push this up on the other screen so I can see some things about my skeleton. So this is 15, so I would say 14, 13, and 12. Okay? So how do you fix this? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take everything, all the keys that are applied to monkey, and move them in time and get them separated from everything else. Well, fortunately, it looks like I can select these keys, and I think it's going to be pretty simple. I think I can take all these, grab them. Can I? Okay, doesn't seem to want to let me grab. Okay, let's cut, and then let's just smack them down here and see if that did the trick. I think it did. Yeah, see, now what you're going to have is you're going to have all the keys associated with Luca happen up top. Excuse me, and the keys associated with monkey down at the bottom. So that's good. All right, so he goes and he smiles at Mel, and I'm going to grab these 3 keys and drag them north. So that's cool. So we got those separated out. We'll basically wait 1 second, and let's see how that feels. Let's hit the K key. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. I think it needs to happen a little quicker. Boom. Yeah, like I said, not too bad. Okay, so here, did we load the color model in? I think we did. And so with this, we can actually just select this and do a fill operation. Okay, now that's interesting. We better turn the plastic tool off and look here at our color situation. Okay, so I definitely have a little work to do. Definitely have a little work to do. First thing is, let's take our ink and let's get a little bit more detail in here in his garment, and we are going to want to put some indication of his belt. So then let's go to Luca. Okay, so now we have an issue. We have an issue. We probably have an orphan here, so let's go sample this. Yeah. Okay, my bad. So what has gone wrong here? Here's what we need to do. Right here, while we're thinking about it, we're going to do 2 things just to get things synced back up. We're going to hit Alt S, which saves the level. We're going to go here and save the palette because this has the updated iris. Okay, and then we're going to reload the color model. Okay, now there's Luca's iris. It is the correct color. And so now we're gonna just kind of take a look at, okay, yeah. So now I'm actually going to do the same thing with his garment. I am going to do a plastic tool on it just to do some very, very judicious Just a little bit of judicious animation. Actually, let's go here. Let me think about how I would want to articulate this. Actually, I think we'll let this be kind of a bit of a parent. We'll put that there just in case. I'm feeling like maybe he's going to want to lean in a bit. So, got no idea if this is going to be kind of sort of right-ish, but we'll give it a try. Okay. Animate. Okay, so let's go back here so I can actually see the keyframes. So we're on our skeleton, and so let's just go ahead and set a key. Alright, so now what I want to do is, I've got keep distance off. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I was hoping. I was hoping it'd be able to be, just make some little adjustments so it just feels better. Okay. Fine. Now I'm going to go in here, and we're going to deal with some other color and shadows and stuff. Alright, so let's turn the plastic tool off. File, save all. And just for kicks and giggles, let's turn our background on. Yeah, so we're definitely not going to be using this background because we need to actually have a sense of the cave in here. So really there's quite a bit to be done here with Luca. Fortunately, we're going to have to do some tweaks on his face as well to get some shadowing in there. Why don't we do that right now? Let's see. Luca skin. Okay, so we don't have a Luca skin shadow color. Let's do that right now. Control C, Control V. Actually, you know what? I think we do, come to think of it. Because I've got this shadows. Nope, I don't have a Luca skin shadow color. So typically what's been happening is a subtraction of about 12 points seems to get us where we want to be. Okay, and in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the paintbrush tool. And by the way, I'm going to save all. Save my level. And while I'm thinking about it, nope, I want to save as. Yep, overwrite that. That bakes Luca's skin shadow into the palette, and just to be safe, we should reload the color model just to make sure everything is correct. And there it is. Luca's skin shadow is right there. So now what we can do is, and obviously we could have a level for shadow, but actually let me think about this. We do want to have the Luca skin shadow color. That is obviously something that would be useful. But in this case, I'm wondering if we want to actually have a shadow level. Well, let's just kind of keep going one little step at a time here. Let's do a little cleanup here. Okay. Belt. Got it. Armband. Okay. And why do we have a glitch? Why do we have a glitch here? going to save my level. I am going to confirm that the color model is loaded to that level, because you do need to specifically, yep, there's the shadow and stuff. Let's see if it fixed. Didn't fix the issue here. So that's definitely the right color. But here, we are not seeing it. Okay, File, Save All. This is actually strange. I'm going to reload this shot. You know, if this color management stuff gets to be too clunky, I may wind up just dispensing with it and finding a different way, because it's definitely got some clunk to it. That's for sure. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is fix this issue if I can. Is it got something to do with the plastic tool? Why is it? So why did we get? That is really, 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 really weird. That is really weird. That's the correct color. That's the correct color. But here in the display, the colors are not showing up. I tell you guys, this is the kind of thing that makes me go, Opentoonz. Is Opentoonz always, always, always going to fail once you go beyond creating toy cartoons that only last 7 seconds? It seems to me that the answer is probably. But we're going to give this a try. Let's go into the plastic tool and let's redo the mesh. I can see the colors here. Okay, that did it. That was the problem. So there's something about the plastic tool. Okay, mental note, folks. If you change anything with the palette, there seems to be these rules that keep coming up about palettes over and over and over. If you change anything about the palettes before, after applying the plastic tool, you need to regenerate the mesh. Okay, well, now we know. Okay, how do we want to do our shadows? Well, I think we're going to do it a double whammy here. First of all, let's just hit the B key and create a shadow situation. Okay, and if you don't know how to do that, well, you're going to know how to do it here in half a second. Okay, alright, and I put it between the head and the okay, now that actually looks stupid, but at least I've got the color set up so I can kind of sort of make it work. So let's fill that, and now we can actually do it a little more intelligently. Boom, boom. And by the way, one thing we're going to do that's going to save us some heartache is we're actually going to take this shadow layer and we're going to map it through the plastic tool. So if you don't know how to do that, you're going to want to know how to do that, because what that'll do is it'll take the all the deformations that are being done to this garment, and it will allow the plastic tool to reflect those deformations in the well, the shadows will adapt to the plastic tool just like the rest of it, which is great. Okay, alright, not too bad. I want the B key, not the V key. Now, I could mask this through a post-production effect. In other words, I can make it so that everywhere outside of Luca the shadow doesn't show. But in this case, it seems to me that just being careful with the application of the shadows is probably going to do the job just fine. Okay, so now we're going to do it here as well. And fill that. Okay, so application of the plastic tool, meaning I hit F3 and I go to the stage schematic. Okay, and now you can see what we have here. So this is column 2 mesh. So that would be this one, which makes sense. Well, no, it doesn't. Column 2 mesh. Let's see what this is. Column 2 mesh. Column 2. Okay, so what we need to do is we want column 4, which is the shadow. We want column 4 to also go through the plastic tool. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that it gets deformed as well, like that. Okay? Cool. So you have a little bit of a... Definitely going to want to change that background as soon as possible. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing here on Luca's head. Insert. And I'm just going to hit the B key. Boom. Hello? B key, I said. Alright. Stretch this. Stretch this down. Down, I say. Okay, in this case... Okay, this is interesting. If you want to make this work, what you got to do is unlink the plastic tool, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, got to unlink the plastic tool. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hit F3, and we're gonna run column 5 directly into the table. Okay, now you'll see 3 heads of Luca. But what that means is now I can go ahead and put shadows on his head and his hat, each to the individual drawings, and then when I reconnect everything back up to the plastic tool, everything will be in its correct place. So let's have some fun. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and do an extra shadow layer on Monkey like this, and of course I reserve the right to change my mind. Fill that, hyper it down. There we go. Okay, Luca. Little bit of the ear's gonna catch the moonlight. And of course, if I don't get it completely perfect, I can just take the paintbrush tool and fine-tune it. Okay, here we're gonna go boom. And okay, so there's one other thing I'm gonna do, by the way. I'm gonna actually add shadowing below Luca so that we can actually cast extra shadow onto the garment. So I'll show you what that looks like here. And let's go B key, and I'm just going to kind of go like this. Up. Sorry. Guess I need to be a little more careful. Alright, so kind of sort of same thing here, like so. Kind of sort of same thing here, like so. B key. So yeah, I mean it takes a little time, but I think the results are basically worth it. I'm going to adjust that like so. I'm going to give him a little bit of nose shadow. And by the way, it appears that we've got some erroneous garbage right there. V key. Sorry. V key. Yeah, so it's noteworthy that I actually kind of committed a cardinal sin right now, just now, because the patch that I just fixed on his face was in fact not applied to his face but to the shadow layer. So at least I'm pretty sure that's what I did, but that's okay. Okay, let's save all. Let's go back in here. You can see no shadows there. So now if we go back to the schematic and we patch not only Luca through the plastic tool, but we also patch Luca's shadow through the plastic tool. Look what happened. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so now there is one problem. The problem is that the shadows below didn't take, and yeah, that's my fault. The reason they didn't take is because the mesh doesn't see that any shadow area that's outside of Luca's head, the mesh doesn't see. So that's okay. What we're gonna do, let's go back here. Let's look at this shadow situation. I think what we'll do is let's make this pretty big. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a little more aggressive. Okay, cool. And then let's just see, how about here we make a duplicate, here we make a duplicate. So that needs to be gotten rid of. Boom. Oh, brother. Well, this is one of the things about Opentoonz that drives me a little bit crazy, because the default behavior is essentially virtually never what you would actually want it to do. And what it does in terms of, in other words, if you make a duplicate of a drawing, it immediately takes the drawing you made a duplicate of and makes that the very next cell. I have never ever one time ever had a situation where that was desirable behavior. So in other words, here I have frame 4. I create a duplicate of frame 4, so it creates frame 5, and then the very next frame is frame 4 again. If you know how to correct that behavior, post something in the comments. That would be wonderful. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we got these duplicates, and I'm just going to wing it. I'm really just going to wing it and hope it worked. Okay, it did, except really this needs to be rounded out. Groovy. You know, the shot's almost done. So now, since we're having nothing but fun, let's go in here, and what we'll do is we'll insert a new raster level. It's going to be a plain old painting. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to grab everything here, Control C, and we are, in fact, going to paste it in here. Okay, so let's get rid of this level, and in my scene cast, I'm removing unused levels, by the way, and I'm hitting Save All. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to paint around Luca. So where is my, there's my basics. It's kind of annoying that I would call this an Opentoonz bug, actually kind of a major bug, in that why it would use the Toonz raster level palette as the default for a raster level doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just deal with it. I'm going to create a new page, and we're going to call this raster brushes. Okay, and of course it didn't work. Raster brushes, because in Opentoonz you always have to type everything twice. And we're going to add a new style. Control C, V, V. Okay, Control C, V, V, V. Normally that's about all I need. Okay, so let's go to the raster settings. And by the way, I'm going to actually have to stop working because I just realized actually this is not going to work, because I'm going to have to reboot this machine because Opentoonz decided to destroy my pressure sensitivity somehow. It could be because of Krita. I've seen this happen before, where you jump into Krita, and then when you come back to Opentoonz, all of a sudden you've got no pressure sensitivity anymore. Okay, so I'm saving the palette. Boom. Yep, I'm saving the palette. Alright, and then just to be utterly obnoxious, we're going to load our color model, even though we shouldn't have to. Boom, boom, boom. Make sure nothing breaks. Back here. Okay, so we just basically added the raster brushes to the situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this big bold brush, and I'm going to just grab this color, and what I'm thinking is, boom, okay, let's see if that fills. Well, of course it doesn't fill, don't be silly. Let's go here, hit the B key, and let's make this big. Big, I say. This is not the most performant brush. Well, that's okay. That's okay. We're having fun. We're having nothing but fun. Boom. Okay. Take this back to 0. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start painting. Okay, so let's go ahead and crank up. Boom. Is it working? Actually, it looks like pressure's back. Wow, that's weird. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it, folks. I'm happy about that. Okay, so let me tell you this. File, let's save on. And I'm going to pull up 786 here, because it seems to me that, okay, not 786. Okay, what would be the prior one? 785? No. Sorry guys, I'm flopping like a monkey here. I'm flopping like a monkey. I'm loading a scene, and I really want to see the icons. There it is. Okay, so you can see here with the background painting learning how to see planes of tone, flat planes of tone, is really working. And you flip this around. So this is the situation that I'm actually drawing behind Luca right now. So obviously, I've kind of botched it. The cave needs to be much bigger, so that's cool. No, it wasn't scene 87. Actually, let's just do this. Those icons really help. There it is. Duh. Okay. So, um, so I am just gonna actually let's do this. Let's grab this color here. This is a more performant brush. You can make this one big, and it still actually does a pretty good job of keeping up with the Joneses. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a little bit of this isn't exactly the way it would be per per the other background painting, but that's okay. I just wanna, boys just wanna have fun. So I'm here, and let's go to our raster brushes. And now what are we gonna do? Let's go ahead and get the silhouette. Okay? All we want to do is get the silhouette, which in this case I'm going to put a little bit of a ledge there. I'm going to go ahead and brush that in. Okay, and now we're going to be, this is the interior. This is the cave interior, so we're going to try to smooth this out. We'll have to use that oil paint brush to smooth it out, but the area behind him should be, the mouth of this cave is pretty big. Okay, so let's just get it all in there. And because we're doing a lot of brush strokes, why don't we just kind of play it safe and save our work. Save. Okay. Okay, now in a case like this where it's a close-up, we don't want to go overboard with the detail on the background. That will begin to work against us. So all I'm going to do is give a little bit of a nudge. Okay, that needs to be way less saturated. Really haven't quite got the color I'm looking for here. So I'm going to go ahead and just go in and mod that. And that's okay. A little bit of variety in the color never hurt anybody. A little bit more value, a little less saturation. Generally, when in doubt, you want things less saturated than you think, I would say. At least if you're going for realism. But okay, so let's put these in here. So yeah, this process of doing background paintings is actually becoming way, way, way more fun than it used to be. Mainly because I just feel like I can do it. Become a little more competent. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a hint here to suggest that the other, let's turn these guides off. The other edge of the cave is actually here, even though it doesn't really make sense based on the scale from the other shot. And we'll just kind of fade that into the background. Yeah, I sound like Bob Ross. Happy little clouds. Happy little clouds. Okay, shrink that down. Now let's get the highlight. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's go towards blue. Just for kicks and grins. Okay, so now it's too Whoa, excuse me. That was not the right thing to do. I kind of made a strategic error here in that the background sky is baked into the same layer as the foreground situation. So yeah, that didn't work. So let's just kind of retreat from that. Let's wrap that around the edge. And the main thing is it's a little too uniform. Okay, so what I've been finding is you want to be very judicious with your details. Okay, I guess I want to go really dark. So I'm going to put a crack in that rock. Little crack there, little crack there. Little texture. Okay, be very selective with your detail. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and allow a little silhouette of some kind of greenery. A little bit of something. Kind of trying to grow. Alright, and then I'm going to go to my pencil actually with a very tight, strong highlight. In these cracks, the thing about cracks is you want to give them the ability to catch the light. Cracks have a shadow and a lip. Okay, it doesn't take very much. Let's roll this. Okay. That's not too bad. The only thing is, and by the way, I'm going to get rid of these guides now. File, save all. Alright, the only thing I gotta say really is a bit problematic here. Let's do this. Let's cut this. I'll cut around that grass, but so we'll let that go. Okay. And then let's scale this up. So yeah, shoot, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to do it with some mushiness. So that's okay. That probably doesn't make any sense what I mean about mushiness, but what I mean is I gotta get this out of there. Let's just do it like that. Okay. Yeah, I just needed to kind of get the sky or the moon, because the next shot with TNR it wouldn't make any sense. So let's hit the brush, sample this color, and then Control Z. Gotta be on the first frame. Okay, so actually let's grab this color, RB. Okay, so let's make it big. Big brush. Big brush. Okay, so I'm going to have to redo the grass. Well, this is a great example of where the real deficiency of trying to do background paintings directly in Opentoonz is glaringly obvious right here, which is that you have no concept of layers. The only way you can do layers is to actually have multiple levels that you're sort of blending. And you can do it, but it's pretty obnoxious. It's pretty obnoxious. And so here I'm having to do extra work because essentially the background and the foreground are baked together. Well, you know, in the old days when you were a painter, everybody had to do it that way, right? So what am I complaining about? It's a fair point. It certainly is a fair point. Okay, So now we'll grab this. It's already set to a highlight. Boom. So yeah, we're just allowing the moon to do what the moon does. Let's look at it at full size. Okay. Okay. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Truthfully, the blur that there really should be on the overall render will sort of compensate for some of the fact that the brushwork is a little more detailed than I might prefer. A little more clear. Okay, let's pull back. Okay, so now I'm going to get a little bolder with it. I'm actually performing at a fairly sloppy level right now, it seems to me. Come on, I said 0, not 3. So here's what we're going to do. I'm starting to see in my mind what I want, so that's good. Let's take this and actually make it -1. Okay, yeah, that's about the right brush size. Okay. Okay, that's better. And we'll come back with this and scribble in some little bit of highlight. So there would be So yeah, it's probably a bit over the top in terms of the level of detail here, but that's okay. That's okay. What if we added a little bit of a glow? I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if you can like overlay. I don't think you can. Nope. Yeah, if you wanted to do that, you'd actually have to put it probably on another layer. However, to be fair, that actually looks pretty cool. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to sample that color and just introduce a little bit of spooky misty action, right? And let that spooky mist. Okay, I don't like that. So right here we've got too much okay, 0, 1. I mean -1. It's problematic when you use a stylus. If you mouse over this and try to change it, if your mouse moves, or if your tablet moves at all, your stylus, it'll quit accepting the input. So you're sitting there typing, type, and you look, and nothing's changed. Completely typical Opentoonz. Not being a hater, just saying. It is the way it is. Okay, that's better. Okay. So it seems to me that the texture of the rocks be just catching a little glint of the moonlight. And I think I'm going to quit with that. I like the way Monkey kisses up to Tianara. I think that's cool. Let's look at the post-production aspect. Yep, that tones it down a bit. Let me see. What the heck? Oh, it's this color. Okay, so this is just, yeah, this is just the tint. Okay, so now we need to add the same, just by the way, I'm just going to say, I know I'm going to be coming back to this painting. This painting is not good enough. You know, for example, as I glance back after it, after getting away from it for a moment, I'm looking here and I'm seeing where these rocks need to be picking up a little bit of the moon, right? Just stuff like that. And sometimes it does help to just get away from it for a bit. That's better. Basically, this stuff right here looks pretty cheeseball. This basically looks stupid, in my opinion. It's just not even close to being at the quality level that we're looking for. So that's better. Let's tone it down a little bit of noise. Well, it's easier to do background painting in Krita or basically almost anywhere else except Opentoonz. Hate to say it, but it is true. So, and I think I'd like to see, for example, a bit of a rock there. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, I see this in my head. Like, when I go back, I look at the paint, geez, you know, there needs to be like a little jutting rock thing right there, you know. Maybe a slight little bit of something on the interior of the cave catching. Just a glint. You know, and turn it up a little bit, but you don't want to go too far. Yeah, that helps. Kind of crazy how something so simple does help quite a lot. But now, what we're going to do, File, Save All. I'm not going to save the palette because I don't care if the colors are correct when they load into another scene. Doesn't matter. What I want to do is add my post-production step. So what we're going to do is go into the effects, go to our output, and we're going to insert a blur. And the blur is going to be 2 pixels. Okay. So why would we do that? Well, that way when it renders, it just softens it up a little tiny bit. Little tiny bit. And we could always resharpen too after the show is edited. The other thing is going to be to go here and grab this noise. We're just going to load it. We're not going to import it. Okay, and we're going to turn it off in the view. There's no reason for it to be in there. But then in post, what we're going to do is we're going to, and that's column 9. Column 9 right here. We're going to delete that connection. And we're going to add a layer blending overlay with the film grain as the foreground and the scene as the background. And this is going to be obnoxious. Yep. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set the overlay opacity to 0.2. And that gives us, look at that, it gives us this really nice filmed look, and kind of softens things up a little bit too. You can see everything softening just a skosh. And so this would be our shot. It's got to, actually let's not do it this way, let's hit Control R to render, because rendering is way faster than the affected preview. So this would be quite indicative of what the final show would look like. So, in case this doesn't make any sense, what actually just happened was Tianara, they were sort of deciding, what do we do? Where do we go from here? What's going to happen? And Tianara asserts that she's throwing in with them. And Luca likes that idea because he just said he was going to stick with Mel. And, sorry, this shouldn't be in preview mode anymore. And by the way, there's one other thing I wanted to tweak, which was right here. I felt like, see, this is on 3s though. Gosh, it is really tempting to change this. You know what? I'm not going to do it. Okay, let me explain this. I want the character animation to be on 3s. So if I'm feeling like this head turn should happen more briskly, then the reality is what I should be doing is taking the second shot out completely. If I really want it to happen more quickly. Save all. How would we do that? Well, here's how we do it. I'm not going to save this. I would get rid of that, and I would get rid of that. Drag this up to here. Drag this up to here. Yep. I would get rid of this. Well, actually, pull that down to there and this up to here. So I've effectively gotten rid of these. So the principle is, if the show is going to be animated on 3s, if the idea is to make it feel like an old school anime, you can't, if the action needs to happen faster, you can't cut it down to 2s. You have to get rid of some of the keyframes and close the gap in between them so that you're still on 3s, but everything moves faster. I would argue the scene does look better. Now there's a problem, I think. Let me see. Nope, I guess it's okay. So actually, with the you know, the concept we have for the show, I would also say we probably should go like this. Let's wait 1/2 of 1 second. So wait, boom. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and undo all of that, if you can believe this. What happens if we add that initial pause? I am going to choose not to decide. Well, let's say the gap should be in there, so let's save all. And I think we can actually fix it by going like this. Let's go up here, and now let's go Alt up arrow. Wrong. Okay, Alt up arrow, and it literally cleans the frames out of the whole dad blame thing. Okay, so now That's in the wrong place, but let's try that. We added the gap and then put in the pause. It's better. I'm saving it. I'm committing to it. And the reason I'm doing it is because I don't want to start closing up the tightening up the animation while also introducing more tweens that puts us on twos. I'm not saying that there's not a situation where that would be appropriate, but if we do it, if we start going down that road, we're gonna drift toward too much of a Disney type aesthetic. It's gonna become inconsistent. So I really want to stick with animation on threes. And I mean, that works. There's a pause. We don't need the tween in there. It's hard to let it go, frankly. Hard to just say, oop, gone. But truthfully, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. It is better. So with that, I am going to save my work and tell you that there will be more later. We got another shot done.